Okay guys, now that you've seen a bit of your app-aware routing, we'll take it one step further. We're going to do it for deep packet inspection. Right now, when we took a look at app-aware routing, our classification of the traffic, the app, was based on L3, L4, which is basically your protocol, TCP, UDP versus the port number. The next thing that I'm going to show you guys in this particular video is how you have the ability to invoke the DPI, the Deep Packet Inspection Engine, off your WAN edge to do the same type of thing. So basically what I'm doing over here, I'm going to apply this policy to Roam, in which same type of concept, where I'm going to say that if any of the messengers, whether it's AOL, MSN, or WhatsApp Messenger application comes in, it should not use the MPLS transport at all. It should use these characteristics as an SLA, and it should only use the biz internet. All right. We still need to create the same components over here. I don't need to create the site list, because if you guys remember, in the previous lab, I already created the site list for Roam, which was site 4. I don't need to create the VPN list, which I'll be using over here again, because I've already created it, which was VPN list number 1. I do need to create a new SLA based on these different type of applications. Sorry about that. I do need to create application-based SLA, loss of 10%, latency of 600 and 100 of jitter, 100 milliseconds of jitter. And then I'm going to use it in the same centralized policy. What I'm going to show you over here, again, a different way of doing it. I could have done it via the centralized policy. Actually, in this particular lab, I'm going to do it within the policy. So I show you that part of it. Later on in another lab, I'll show you how you can create the policy up front and call it inside your centralized policy as well. So this time around, I still have the same main central policy. I'm going to be adding another characteristic to it, and that is going to be applied specifically for the Roam site. So how do I go about doing it? So the things that I need to create over here is the application SLA, the application list for for the messenger applications, and the SLA class. Again, I can either do it when I do the creation of the policy or create the list up front. So let's do it up front. Where do I do it? Again, under configuration, policies. I like doing it up front. So I'll go to custom, create the list. I don't need to create Roam as a list. I do need it. I will be using it because I created that already. So Roam site ID 4 is already there. I do need the VPN list. I'm going to be using it, but it's created already. I don't need to create it again. I do need to create the SLA class for the messenger apps. So I'll call it SLA messenger. And the parameters that they want, we'll use those, which are 10, 100, and 100. 10, 600, and 100. 10% loss, 600 latency, and 100 for the jitter. For SLA messenger, have that ready. So though all the different components that I need are created now. So where's that? SLA messenger is created as well. Now, once this is done, now I can go back into my policy, the centralized policy. I can click over here. Now that I already have it, I don't need to create a new one. I can go over here and edit. Now, this also falls under app-aware routing. Now, I want you guys to see this. Once I've initially created the central policy, how do I make changes to it? There are 3 elements over here. This element over here is your control policy, which we'll be taking a look at in the next video. This is your traffic rules. This is where your app-aware routing or traffic data, which I'm going to use for NAT later on in a later video, comes up. All right, this is where I create the policies. And once I create the policies over here, I'm going to use this button over here to apply the policies. Okay, whether it's for topology, which is your control, or traffic rules, which is your data. So in my case over here, I'm doing an app-aware routing, which falls under data or traffic rules. Okay, so I need to go over there, create the policy first, and once I create the policy, I'll come back over here under app-aware routing and apply it. So let's create it first. Traffic rules. I have the AAR for Telnet and web already there. I'm going to add a new policy. I'll call it AAR for messenger apps. Just a name. Okay. Again, add a sequence. Now this time around, I'm not going to call a source destination port. Instead, I'm going to call an application list. Those capabilities are still there. They're available to me if I wanted to. But I'm not going to do it based on layer 3, layer 4. I'm going to do it based on layer 7. So application family list. And there's a whole bunch of different families that you can call. Or I can create a new application list. I could have done it in the list option, but I want you guys to see how I can do the list within the calling of the actual policy. So new application list. I'm going to say messenger apps. All right. What applications do I want? Let's say AOL. Add it. Then I have WhatsApp. Was a third one. AOL, WhatsApp. MSN, I think, was a third one. MSN Messenger. Good enough. So I have these 3 different applications under this listing. Again, this is deep packet inspection. So it's going to take a look at the deep packet and find out if these applications exist. Messenger apps. What action do I want to take? Under the actions, click on there. And again, same thing. SLA class, call the class. The class was called SLA Messenger. If it's met, the preferred color is Biz Internet. I don't want it to go through the MPLS cloud. So I can use this button over here. Strict means what? Only Biz Internet. Don't fall back. Save it. So now I have this policy over here. Messenger apps, which is based on this SLA Messenger. It's going to use Biz Internet strict true. Default action. Enable. Allow the rest. All right. Now, I have not applied this to anywhere. I just created the policy. Save it. Now I'll have 2 policies under here for my app-aware routing. One was based on layer 3, layer 4, and this is based on deep packet inspection, the messenger apps. Once I create the policy over here, the next thing that I need to do is call or apply the policy under policy application. So I created here or here, but either way, I go and apply it down in the policy application. Once my policy has been created, the first time I create it, it goes through a wizard, groups of interest, topology, traffic rule, and apply. Now, once it's created, if I want to edit it, I need to work with these 3 menu options. So I've created the traffic policy, AR messenger apps, and I want to apply it only to Roam. So if I go down over here, not under topology, I want to go under app-aware routing. I have the older one called AAR Telnet Web, which is applied to LA and London. And now I'm going to apply this policy over here to Roam. And as I said, it also requires the VPN list. So in Roam, for this particular VPN, don't forget to click on Add. So this policy called AR Messenger App only applies to Roam. It applies to VPN 1. So if I save this, because this policy is already activated, it's going to push it to where? To the vSmart. vSmart will push it down to your WAN edges. So scheduled it, in progress, and eventually it should come up as applied. Give it a second. And once it gets as applied, we can test it. Done. Now, how do I test it? Again, go to Monitor, Network. We'll do it from LA first, which is vEdge 2, troubleshooting. Simulate traffic. VPN 1. There you go. And I don't want to, I would put an application or an address over here, it doesn't matter. What is more important to me is the application. I'll choose the application because it's a simulation. I'll pick AOL. Messenger, I'm sitting in LA. LA does not have any policy for this. So let's simulate. Oh, black hole, it doesn't go anywhere. Let's go to one of the sites. I'm using both paths. All right, because I'm in LA. But at the same time, if I change this and go to Rome, which is vEdge 4, pick VPN 1, the local interface, same address, 31.1, and the application, AOL Messenger. It should only take the biz internet. But at the same time, if I take this application off and do it based on, let's say, a web or telnet, it's not going to do any of the policy because that policy, telnet and web, was only applied to London and Los Angeles. So now I'm using both the links over here. So as you guys can see, a lot of control, and I'm doing everything for the entire SD-WAN architecture from a single device where I'm sitting and managing the policy for the entire infrastructure through this vManage. And that takes care of this where policy using chat window. So we've taken a look at two examples of AAR based on L3, L4, and we've taken a look at based on deep packet inspection. All right. In the next video, we're going to focus on the control policies, which in SD-WAN are referred to as your topology policies. Let's take a look at that in the next video.